No matter how you travel, it's good to have a plan. Some people plan every minute. No sleep, bus, museum, another museum, while others only plan to take it day by day. When it comes to your finances, a plan is just as important. You can count on Credit Karma to give you the insights you need to understand your options, so you can take charge of your financial path and find your way to money. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on. Download the app today.
Get your mother-loving ears on because your big-time radio DJ's got news. PayPal lets you choose how you want to pay for all the stuff. With PayPal, I can pay in-store, pay online, or pay over time. What's that? You want this translated into song? I hope you're sitting down. You can pay your own way. You keep those ears on, you hear? Don't just pay, baby. PayPal.
Learn more at paypal.com.
The Passing Lab is brought to you by our partner, Modern Football Technology, and their quarterback development platform, the same tool trusted by NFL coaches like Rob Everett of the Miami Dolphins, former UFL, XFL offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach A.J. Smith, and creator of the R4 system, Dub Maddox. It's helping coaches make smarter decisions and build better quarterbacks rep by rep. If you're still choosing your quarterback based on gut feeling or raw stats, it's time to evolve. Modern Football Technology's quarterback development platform gives coaches real-time data from every rep, tracking timing, accuracy, and decision-making, and tying it all back to specific concepts and situations in your play data. It doesn't show you who performed, it shows you why, where they're improving, and what to coach next. That's why coaches like Rob Everett, A.J. Smith, and Dub Maddox are using it to develop their quarterbacks with clarity and confidence. Modern Football Technology. Clarity for coaches, confidence for quarterbacks. Learn more at modernfootball.com.
You have to eat him. You have to literally push vertical, and you have to eat up the feet of the near safety. So if it's a too high look, you have got to cross him and make him flip hips, right? You have to. If it's a one high, then obviously you're trying to eat across him. And so now you're getting like a double crossover thing deal. But that's really the point. That's really just what we're talking about, man. We're just, hey, man, we've got to eat the safety.
We're back for another episode of The Passing Lab, and joining me is the host, Josh Herring, to tee this one up for us. And he's going to be talking with Tracy Malone, the offensive coordinator at Sewanee, the University of the South. So, Josh, another great one here. Always looking forward to these and the detail that goes into them. So what do you have for us here with Coach Malone?
Yeah, Coach Malone is well known to a lot of guys out there because he's coached in 3 different states. He's a really experienced high school coach, and he's in the college ranks now. So it's really cool to talk to him just about his journey. And he's a guy that's had so much experience, both as a coordinator and a head coach. I think guys are going to get a lot out of this one.
Well, let's get into this one with Coach Malone.
Now at Chipotle, our all-new Chipotle Honey Chicken brings Chipotle heat with a touch of sweet. Seared smoked peppers and savory Mexican spices, blended with a hint of pure honey for a perfectly balanced sauce. All combined with fresh, tender chicken hot off the grill, served up in your favorite burrito or bowl. New Chipotle Honey Chicken takes heat and sweet to a whole new level. But it's only at Chipotle for a limited time. Order now in the app for pickup or delivery. Chipotle, for real.
All right, want to welcome everybody to the Passing Lab. Man, what a great episode we've got tonight. I've got Tracy Malone, who's the OC and quarterback coach at Sewanee, the University of the South, a longtime high school coach in 3 different states. We're going to talk about that. So he really is one of the good guys, high school guy that is now in the big time coaching college, which is the dream a lot of people have, but super excited about his topics tonight. It's going to be really good. We're going to get just into some X and O's and talk ball. But Tracy, I'm really glad to have you on. Just when we talked earlier in the winter, you were a high school coach, and then we talk again, and all of a sudden you're a college offense coordinator. So if you don't mind, just kind of, that's a dream of a lot of guys. It's a pretty cool deal. I know a lot of people are excited about seeing you do that. Can you just kind of talk a little bit about how that went down?
Yeah. Well, first things first, thank you for having me and for including me in this. I've enjoyed listening to all of them, take a bunch of notes. I had a long commute from Chattanooga to Rockmart, Georgia, where I was coaching the last couple of years. So podcast really kind of became my thing. Well, it kind of started on the recruiting trail. We had a quarterback quarterback at Rockmart here in 2024 that was a really good player, college player. And the head football coach at Sewanee, Coach Andy McCollum, who most people, if you're in the South, you know Coach Mack. I mean, Coach Mack is unbelievable on the recruiting trail. He's a relationship guy. He's been in D1 his whole career. I mean, he's been successful everywhere the dude has been. I think most people in Georgia are going to know him at Georgia Tech. See guys know him from Middle Tennessee State, but he's been in Texas and all over. But anyway, so he comes down to Rockmart. He's looking at this quarterback, and the head coach at Rockmart brings him out. I was doing credit recovery. Coach Mack comes out to the trailer, the portable where I'm at, and hey, man, we hug. We hadn't seen each other in a minute. How's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And then, I don't know, a couple of weeks later, on a Sunday, he called me up and said, hey, man, any interest in coming to Sewanee? Honestly, I was thinking, like, dude, did he call the right guy? Maybe he called the wrong guy here because I've been a high school guy my whole life. And I was like, yeah, I mean, Coach Mike, you're there. You're there. So, yeah, I would have some interest. And it's 40 minutes from the house. It's an unbelievable university. So anyway, it just kind of went from that conversation through different conversations over a stretch of time. And then ultimately it was, hey, man, send your resume. And then it was come up for an interview. And and then it just became, hey, man, here's the job. And you really need to think long and hard about this. Honestly, it was one of those things where you just kind of, I don't want to say scared, but nervous. I'm 51 years old and I've been in high school my whole life. And honestly, I made a phone call to a friend of mine who's the head coach at Maryville College here in Tennessee, a guy named Ben Fox. And Ben and I have been friends for a while, and I've worked his quarterback camp. And we're actually in the conference with them. They're rivals. He just said, look, dude, he said, scared money don't make money, cuz. So I talked to Coach Mack one more time and accepted the job. And I'm really fortunate to get to be there at Sewanee working for him. I keep coming back to Coach Mack. Coach Mack being there was the draw, and so fortunate to be there and fortunate to be the coordinator and have the offensive staff we've got and the players we've got. He's done an amazing job recruiting those guys. So, hopefully we can go and make Coach Mack's decision look really good.
It's so important to just have a concrete example of relationships. You always hear about that, in these guys, and how important it is to have relationships with people and not big time people and the whole thing.
You never know when you're interviewing. You just never know. I think that, he's made some comments about, he had saw some stuff I'd done with quarterbacks. And, so that helped. I don't know, man. It's still one of those, I'm 3 months into it, and it's still kind of like coming to grips with this is what I'm doing and this is my job now. My wife has been an English teacher for 20 something years. And she said the other day, so you're not going to have to teach. No, honey, I don't have to teach.
You have a unique experience of coaching in 3 different states with good football. And, we could talk about this for 2 hours, but being in Alabama and Tennessee and Georgia and kind of seeing that in different phases and different stages of your career, what have you kind of taken from that? And if you want to compare states, you can, it's fine. People get mad, they get mad, but just kind of talk us through coaching in 3 different states and your experience.
So first things first, I never intended to be a coach. That was never what I wanted to do. As dumb as it sounds, I was playing basically professional slow pitch softball. I was making money to play ball. And so I went to college to be an elementary PE teacher. I wanted to have my afternoons and my evenings and my weekends off and my summers off to go play softball. And that's what I was doing. And then I get to MTSU and I student teach. And that guy at the middle school that I knew said, man, you need to come out and help us coach. And so I did. And I did that with him. And then that just kind of parlayed into a job at Riverdale High School in Murfreesboro in 1998. The next thing you know, I'm there for 5 years and we play in 3 state championship games and win one of them. And it's just a whirlwind. I put the softball bat down and I felt like God opened the door and said, this is what you're supposed to do. So then I'm there for 5 years, and we used to sit around all the time talking about, man, we need to go to Georgia. Georgia makes money. There's money in Georgia. And so I have an opportunity to go be the offensive coordinator and assistant head coach at Grayson, working for Mickey Kahn. Grayson had just came from AAA where they were really, really dominant and doing well. And we jumped into 5A. So at the time I was there, we were a lot of growing pains but it was a great experience that, big time ball in Georgia. You better have your crap screwed on straight every Friday night because you're going against somebody who's got at the time, Power 5 kid. We had some really good players. That was a really cool experience. So then I go to Alabama, get an opportunity to go to Alabama. Our defensive coordinator at Grayson was a guy named Chad McGee, had played at Alabama, and Chad goes to Alabama as the head coach. And then a year later, he calls me and says, man, our biggest rival's looking for a head coach, and I've given your name to the super. Phone calls are made. I go over, get the job. I'm there 3 years. So, kind of pause there. My first son was born in Atlanta, Georgia. My second son's born in Huntsville, Alabama. And then so we've got 2 kids, and we're trying to get a little closer to family. So I go back to Tennessee to be a head coach. And I was a head coach at 3 schools in Tennessee, and then a coordinator at some schools in Tennessee. And then kind of had an opportunity to go back to Georgia at Rockmart. And so, there's been 3 states, and you talk about comparing. I'll say this, the best football's in Georgia. It's not even close. It's just not even close. It's the best balls in Georgia. I think the more important football's in Alabama. To an extent, consolidation of schools hasn't really hit as much there. The place I was at had at the time, about 400 students, 380 something students in the school, 4 red lights, all on the same street. We had $1 million football field house, and football was crazy important there. And in Tennessee, I think there are pockets of good football. I think there's the private school scene here in Chattanooga is extremely good. With Baylor and McCallie, they're might as well be colleges. But they've kind of dominated the Tennessee big private scene for the last 5 or 6 years. There's good high school ball in Knoxville. Nashville's got some good high school football. Memphis has got a lot of talent. But other than that, I mean, it's more here in Tennessee. It's more private schools and city school systems are who you really see dominating a couple of the bigger locals. So I would say best balls in Georgia, more important footballs in Alabama, and Tennessee's slowly creeping up. They're getting better and better with more population moving in. So
I mean, it's always interesting to hear that perspective. That's good stuff. So we're going to ball talk. We're going to nerd out. The first thing I kind of want to pick your brain about is kind of your shots. And I know you're running kind of one of the hot things right now at all levels is we call it wave. A lot of people call it wave, but there's all kinds of different names. But you got sort of double post on the front side and some type of over or cross on the back side. So we're going to start there and kind of work through your shots. But I think you're doing some really cool stuff play action wise and in protection. And we'll kind of touch on some of that. But just start there and we'll kind of take it where it goes and kind of your shot path.
Okay. So obviously being from Tennessee, Vanderbilt has never been a football power. And so I always kind of, when I was putting the shot package together, and it's all stolen. I mean, let's don't pretend like we're doing anything that not everybody else is doing. We kind of pitch it to the kids and say, look, man, Vanderbilt's got to take shots if they're ever going to be good. At one point, they were good. They were running some triple option stuff back with Woody Woodenhofer and those guys back in the day. And then they took a shot with James Franklin, and it's well known. They started kind of lowering some of the academic requirements and letting him bring in players, and they got really good. And he parlayed that in the Penn State job, so they had to take a shot there. Now they've got a quarterback that's got he's my age, man. He's like 40-some years old. He's balling out. He's been JUCO. He's been 2 or 3 spots. But, so now they're taking a shot and they're running triple. They're running non-traditional triple. And so we call our shot series the Vanderbilt series. And so for us, we base it around 3 or 4 different things. We're going to run double post over, which in our system we call Admiral. We're going to run the old school Steve Spurrier Mills concept, post dig. We call it Vandy. And then we've got Commodore, which is just inverting post dig, post inside, dig outside. And then we've got double post wheel, and we call it money. Vanderbilt's really wealthy. So we rerun those 4. If you're doing any kind of passing podcast, you got to name drop Dub Maddox. That's my boy, man. I love him to pieces. I heard him at a clinic in Atlanta we both spoke at a couple years ago. And he had a buddy that was an analyst with the Falcons, like an offensive analyst, and not the Falcons, the Seahawks. And he talked about that double post over is the highest percentage completion shot play in the NFL for like a certain number of years. And I think it is because it's just got so many built-in answers against pretty much any coverage. Right? You're seeing man coverage, you've got answers. If you're seeing quarters or some kind of 2 split, you've got answers. If you're seeing 1 high, you've got answers. So that's probably the one we get to the most. A double post wheel is probably the second one. But I think the thing we're doing unique with it is we don't really coverage read it. We progression it. We teach it as a progression play. And so it doesn't really matter what we're seeing. We just think we can go 1 to 2 to 3 with a 4 coming some way, somehow. And it's been really good for us.
So I think one of the first things, everybody's running it, right? Mm-hmm. And you get, just like you're running zone, you're running 4 verts. Yeah. You got these things that everybody runs, but everybody has their kind of own flavors. The first thing I think is how do you coach the over differs a little bit from school to school, coordinator to coordinator. So you're singled up, you're the backside guy, you're running the over. Kind of technique-wise, coach me through how you're coaching that route, because there's a lot of nuance to it. Some guys don't like a ton of people to run it. Some let everybody run it. It is something that you have to navigate some things, get to certain spots. So how are y'all coaching that up?
So I'm going to differ just a little. I will talk about that. But to me, I think we get more into the weeds of how are we coaching the 2 front side post routes. Because I think you get a lot of different variation of, the inside post. What are you teaching him? What are you calling it? Does he have a landmark? And then the outside post, how are you teaching that? Where are you breaking it at? All those little, and the thing is, obviously we want to be real detailed in our teaching, but I just think every kid's going to do it just a little bit differently. I mean, I don't care how much you run inside zone mesh from pistol or gun, they're all going to do it just a little differently. So backside for us, I know a lot of people want to treat it like a Y cross, understand over Mike and climb and do all that. We don't really teach it that way. I'm more of a believer in, dude, I need you to be across the field to the far hash at somewhere in a 12-yard range, 12-yard depth as quickly as you possibly can. And then when you get over there, I need you to flatten it out. I need you to flatten it out. Now, the only way you're not going to flatten it out is just if somebody is underneath and you have to deepen it. So we have to layer the throw. But we really would like to get you over and flatten that thing out as best we possibly can, as quickly as we can. So we're just going to tell them, look, man, easy off. Get the easiest release off the line of scrimmage as you can. If the guy's if the guy's the inside release, obviously you're going to have to stem, get a little, a step or two vertical, try to wipe him by and get under to get gone. We're not really spending a lot of time on we're under this guy and over this guy. We're literally just trying to get across as quickly as we can and not get pushed as vertical as somebody's going to want to try to push us. Now, as far as running it, we'll run it to anybody. I saw something that I'm going to steal, where we're going to try to get into some things where we're running the double post front side with 2 overs. Because most people, if you're going to run it, you're going to have to reduce the split of the over route runner. I mean, you just are, right? Somehow you got to dress it up with emotion from same side to the edge or bring it across and bring him back. I'm going to play around with like letting the tight end run one of the overs. He's a little slower dude. Get him over there to about 10 and then let the receiver try to run it from width and bring it. So now you've got double post, double O, something we're going to play around with. That's been on a legal pad for a couple of months. Yeah, backside, we're going to just try. We're trying to get over as quick as we can. And then we were really going to get real detailed on the front side.
So, you already touched on that. That was going to be my second question. So it's really unbelievable how many different theories there are on double post. I mean, just a couple, you have this big difference in how people view, okay, some people want a super wide split with the outside post, and it's almost just we're getting this guy away and we're moving so we can create the void for the over. But then a lot of other guys are, let's cheat the split some so we can get leverage for the post and, be able to throw the guy open and have the corner be outside leverage so we can break. And then that's not even talking about the inside, what you're doing. So since you're talking about the detail of that, all right, well, coach us through what you're doing with those 2 front side posts.
We'll be honest with you, man. We in high school ball and where we are now in the spring, I mean, we pretty much are just going to tell the inside receiver, look, man, your job is to eat the nearest safety to you. You have to eat him. You have to literally push vertical and you have to eat up the feet of the near safety. So if it's a too high look, you have got to cross him and make him flip hips, right? You have to. If it's a 1 high, then obviously you're trying to eat across him. And so now you're getting like a double crossover thing deal. But that's really the point. That's really just what we're talking about, man. We're just, hey, man, we've got to eat the safety. And then the outside guy has got to stay skinny. I mean, he has absolutely got to stay skinny. I know there's been years back when I was an OC at a high school in Knoxville, we were playing around with like taking that inside receiver and running him through the far upright, which is a pretty good landmark. That's a pretty good landmark to get over there and do that. And then it was, okay, well, but what if we're middle of the field? What if we're on the left hash? You calling it to the field. Now you're getting a little squirrely. And we've just kind of found, let's just talk about a safety. Let's just talk about safety. Then outside, we want to keep it skinny. It's almost like a 10 to 12 yard bang. We're trying to throw that thing on a frozen rope if we can. So, the inside post is going to have a little depth. The outside post is probably going to be snapped off a little bit more. And then the over route's just going to let it play. And then we kind of start figuring out, do we want the flat control player to the concept side? So now you've got a 4-strong look, or do we want to put him backside if we think we're getting a lot of man? And that's just a week-to-week thing. That's just a game plan of where do we want to launch that player from.
So protection-wise, are you running it more 6-man protection, or are you more part of your play action type? We're getting 7-man protection, or we're check releasing. Do you base it on what your best runs are from week to week? Kind of what's determining what you're doing with the flat controls?
That for me, it's a 6-man protection play, right? I think it's a 6-man pro play just because it's going to take it a second to get open. It's going to take guys a second to get down the field. So you don't really, I know a lot of people that do it, man. It's check release and this and that. But then you start getting into all the freaking hippies on defense, man. They got the pin last and they're going to bring the delays and the sim creeper and they're going to bail and then they're going to bring somebody snapping out from outside in and you've checked release the back and they're going to do a great job of that. They're going to scheme that up and they're going to study that and look at that tendency. So to me, it's just a 6-man pro play. Now, What we will do is obviously we can token fake it. We can play action off of it if we want to, based off of, the core runs we carry. We really only carry 3, year to year. But I think the other thing that you have to have is you have to have some form of a 7-man protection, right? You have to, whatever it is. I mean, I don't care if it's and slide to both sides and you're inserting a back one way and a tight end the other, or full slide and 2. I don't care. Whatever it is, you got to have a 7-man protection component, because you don't want, and I know that, well, they can blitz 7 and still keep 4. And, I get that. But I think you don't want to let people just blitz you out of a shot play, because in reality, you need 3 guys. You need the 2 post runners and an overrunner.
Yeah.
So, I think you've got to have that. So I think to me, it's a 6-man or a 7-man. Yeah, we've ran it out of 5-man before in the past, exit motion to back out and, push him and do some different things, and push him strong to let him be the layered flat guy there, push him weak to hold the cut. Yeah, you got all that. I mean, I know it's come on, that's not some fresh thing. I mean, everybody's doing it. But to answer your question, I absolutely think you've got to have a 7-man protection, because that way people can't just take it away from you. That's that's what I think.
Yeah, I agree totally on that. You're saying there's a big thing right now in some of the film we broke down is, like you talked about, flashing the back out there and letting the tight end be the 6-man protection guy to kind of mix that. You're seeing a bunch of stuff, but at the end of the day, you got to have the 2 post and then the over route. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah. And I think that I think good offenses give kids hey man, running back, you're going to have this motion and this motion and this alignment and this alignment and this and this. You're going to have these 6 things that you're going to do. And then you just put them into everything. I mean, these 6 things are going to tie in with spacing. These 6 things are going to tie in with all hitches. I mean, we're going to be able to just, and then I think you just get into a game and you're just, hey man, they're doing this, I need to put the back. I just think that's the kind of the deal now at offensive football. Is just, I just think I'll throw this in. I think offensively, we only get to control 2 things. And I know this is a little off the question, but I think this is important. We only get to control 2 things. One is we control the picture that we present to a defense. Now, the picture can be personnel groupings. It can be formations and shifts and motions, double shifts, double motions. I know you and I have the Georgia Tech stuff. It can be all that. It can be tight splits with the line, wide splits with the line. It can be bunches and all sorts of different things. It can be sugar huddles. We control the picture, and then we control the tempo. Right. Huddle, no huddle, fast, slow, get on the ball, shift or signal, whatever. That's it. That's all we can control. The defense has they get all the other stuff. We get picture and speed. That's it. And so I think, when you're teaching double post over, well, it better be able to be ran from everything you do, but in the end, it comes down to 2 receivers, one way running post, and somebody coming across, so I think it's complex, but simple when you come back to it.
So you mentioned dub. Quarterback wise, I'm assuming, is it a 3-level flood where you kind of have a rhythm, a read, and a rush on it? Are you ever alerting the inside post, or is he totally off because his job is to eat up the safety? How are you teaching the quarterback to read it out?
Inside post, outside post, over. Okay. That's the progression. Yeah, so it's inside post, outside post, over. So we're going to hit 1, 2, 3, hitch. Can we take it? Layer it. Let's go. If not, quick skinny, catch the over coming. Because I don't care what defense you get in. I mean, that's how it's going to come open. They're going to eat up the inside post first somehow, some way. If there's a single high post safety, it's probably dead. You could teach a quarterback pre-snap. Well, if you get single high, it's going to take so long to get across him to each front. But, what if the single high falls down? What if he bails out 40 yards? What if he buzzes? What if all right, so inside post, hit it, third step, nope, then reset. Can I bang the skinny? Rip it, let's rock and roll. If not, then I catch the over coming across. And then I've got my flat control as my check down late.
Is there anything, do you ever talk about when you're reading that first inside post, do you ever have them try and have, wider vision and see if is the backside corner chasing that over or something where it's unlocking the post? Or is it more of just, I'm sort of reading the space there for the inside post, and if it's there and it's easy, I'm going to take it. And if it's not, I'm just off pretty quickly.
We're going to see the grass, obviously, but it's just 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Rated T for teen.
Each year, thousands of adults lose their shred. It's an epidemic simply known as shred loss. But it doesn't have to be this way, because rekindling your shred is as easy as playing the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. With new parks, cross-platform multiplayer, and sick new game modes, we can put an end to shred loss everywhere. Get the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 and show the world that the shred's not dead. Get Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 available now.
So I know you got several naked boot type things that you run, but you've talked to me about kind of like some unique things you do in protection with those. We do it. Everybody does something slightly different, just like we've been talking about with nakeds, but you generally only have a few categories of how the routes are going to work, but there may be different teaching. But I think the protection aspect is something that's kind of a new frontier for a lot of guys, because it used to just be this basic people run waggle. Okay. But now you've got all these different views. How can we really impact linebackers? How can we get them to really trigger with whatever run scheme we're running and kind of open up stuff? So talk to me about what you're doing protection wise on your boots.
So, I mean, we're not doing anything unique in the route. You look at it however you want to look at it. There's always going to be any naked. I don't care what anybody runs. If it's going to be successful, there's going to be some type of 3-level triangle where the quarterback's rolling to, right? So it can be a comeback, an over, and a flat. Or it can be a curl and a wheel and a flat. Or it can be a smash and an over. I mean, there's 4,000 different ways to get to a 3-way triangle. I mean, Sark and Texas are doing the stuff now where they're running like sit route, wheel, delay, flat. So, I mean, they're running snag. I mean, they're booting into snag. So, I mean, that to me is pretty simple. That's just telling the quarterback, come off the fake, get your head around quick. If you're clean, you can work that thing high-low. And if you're not clean, it's low-high, right? I mean, that's just pretty common and pretty simple. But I think protection-wise, one of the things that we've sort of hit on is to pull people, right? Yeah. I just think that if you don't, in today's game, the inside linebackers are very good and they're coached really well. And so if you're not pulling people, then you're going to get a scraped out secondary contained player, that the quarterback's not going to ID. He's going to see him late. The guy's going to flash. And that's when the mistakes are going to happen, right? That's when the fumbles are going to happen and all that stuff. So I think the thing that we've done it a lot of different ways, man, but I think what you have to do is you got to figure out, I think the most basic one is if I'm a wide zone team, then I've got 5 elephants on parade. I'm running them to the sideline and we're faking that. Okay, that's great, but I don't know how effective that. I think that, the easiest thing is just pin them. Just tackles have got big gap. Just got a big gap. I mean, you're just going to pin a big gap and let your guards both pull, and the guards can then kind of fit off that and let your center just get nasty in the A gap and, fighting in a phone booth kind of deal. And then you pull it that way. And I think if you pull people, even if you wanted to just go counter Trey, I mean, that's a big one too now, right? That's a big one with bash runs and all that. But I mean, I just think that if you're pulling two somehow, some way, I know there was a year when I was a head coach at a high school here in Chattanooga, we were running a ton of pin pull, a ton of it. And we were always pulling the center. That was a big thing for us, was to pull the center. And so what we got to where we were doing was we were taking, this is just kind of giving you a lot of different ways I've done it. It's just like, okay, we're going to fake our pin pull left and naked back out to the right. Well, what does that look like more times than not when I'm at East Ridge High School in Chattanooga? Well, both tackles, the play side tackle's pinning down and the backside tackle was scooping. Well, let's just tell them both to pin. It kind of looks the same, right? We're just going to pin, block down in the B gap. All right. And then we're going to let the play side guard, and the backside guard, we're going to pull 2 of those. We're going to put one of those guards in the center always. So, that's a good little answer for us just back in the day, man. Let's pull the front side guard in the center and let the backside guard just scoop cut the A gap as crazy as he can. Just try to cut anything off. Hey, your linebackers are seeing what? 2 pullers, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a run play. They're gone. And then you're naked and booting back out away from it. That to me is the best one. So like if you're a buck sweep team, pull both guards. If you're a pin pull team, pull a guard in the center somehow, some way. If you are a zone team, right, a wide zone team, and you're running it, and that's not really us now, but like if that's your deal, well, heck, I would find a way to run it, and then I would try to figure out a way to like steal some of the stuff the 49ers are doing when we call it smack, when you're bringing a backside tight end or tackle, running him play side and inserting him, anything you can do to make a linebacker think, okay, that doesn't necessarily look like a play. That doesn't look like play action to me because I've never seen both guards are pulling, or the center and a guard's pulling, or they're pulling a backside guard and tackle, or they're pulling one guard and they're pulling a tight end in 12 personnel. All those little just wrinkles. I think that's the key now is on nakeds because everybody's so good at playing them. Like you better have that component. And then I think you better be able to have some kind of a way to chip an outside linebacker to the side you're booting back to and release that cat late. And then one of the worlds I want to study more is the flat and the delay flat, that's some really cool stuff that we've never gone down. And that's some stuff I've looked at this winter. I think that's pretty cool stuff. question. I feel like I rambled a little bit there. But.
No. That's good. That's good. It's giving people plenty of ideas. I think you can take the lessons like, okay, plays need to look alike. That's just universal offense theory. But, your run game marrying up with that. I think you made a great point about defenses getting better at playing it. It's something that's been talked about so much and was so cheap and so good for so long. And I think defenses boot rules have gotten better. I know for us, you just see so much odd front, and a lot of the odd front family that you see is essentially like 5-2. It's like double eagle, and there's just an outside linebacker is just there. Like he's just hanging there. So you have to figure out ways to manipulate him and have him not be in the face of your quarterback immediately. So those are really good. Let me ask you, you mentioned in your shot package about the post dig and the dig post, which is the interesting thing that to me is why carry both? What's going to make you run one rather than the other? Like, are you looking at a safety and how aggressive a safety is or how he's backing up? What's going to make you go, all right, we want the dig on the inside versus we want the dig on the outside?
Yeah, I think for me, it's always been a deal of it's not expensive. I like to live in the world offensively of I want to be inexpensive, right? And I want to be able to teach a quarterback a progression that holds up, and we can just I hope Kurt Warner don't listen to this because he's going to rip me because he is so progression. But I believe even where I'm at now, man, I just believe that you can teach a defensive structure. You can talk about this. To me, Tracy Malone, to me. And I'll get back to answering the question. Defensive football is this. They're either going to have, let's assume we're in some form of 2x2 formation. I don't care if it's 11 personnel, 12, 10, it doesn't matter. They're going to have a 3-over-2 structure to one side and a 2-over-2 structure the other way. If they've got 3-over-2 to both sides, okay, we're going to run the football. That's pretty simple. So I think generally you're going to see that. So I think that, and those 3-over-2 pictures can only, I'm going to steal an old school NFL word, matriculate so many ways. They just can. 2-over-2s are either going to be some kind of man, some kind of off man, some kind of quarter, you know what I mean? And so for me, what I want to do is I want to have both. I want to have old school meals, a dig inside a post, and I want to have the invert of that, which is a post inside a dig. Well, why? All right. If we're seeing a quarters defensive look or a 3-man surface to this side here, and we're running mills, dig post, and that safety is getting aggressive on the dig, okay, we like the dig post, right? He's going to eat the dig and we're going to snap the post behind him. Great. But what if he's a disciplined quarter safety? Because he's got a really good linebacker underneath him that can get under and rob that inside dig or set down or curl or whatever you do, right? However you coach that up. And we do it differently than everybody, I guess. Okay, well, then you're seeing that safety getting deep and, doing this and that. And that other safety staying over here. He's not getting in the picture really because you've got something to hold him. All right, well, now let's just invert it. Let's run the post inside. Now the backer's not going to carry that 15 yards. So now we can maybe layer that post route over the backer, under the safety, and snap the dig and just get it that way. So it's all based off of, is he aggressive or is he soft? That's all we carry both.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, that's a really clear, simple way to think about it. Not to get off topic, and I'm not trying to hot take either. But it was like, Josh, you hot take in private conversation, but you don't hot take on hey, it's politics. But like this whole, I think a lot, when you brought up the progression deal, right? I think so much of that is semantics and people talking about the same thing and saying it in a different way. To me, it's really, really, really easy to be from the perspective of an experienced quarterback of being able to say you shouldn't teach a progression. But we in high school sometimes, yes, maybe eventually we can get to this coverage key gives you this coverage key gives you this coverage key gives you this. But like the kid has to initially memorize the play. We don't get the luxury of having a guy that's he's already thrown White Cross 3,000 times in his career and got 3,000 reps at it. And we can say, okay, let's break this down and who covers the cross and what. So I do think sometimes as offensive coaches, when we get into these contests online where we're yelling at each other about stuff, where we're just being counterproductive, when we're all trying to get to the same thing, it's not a zero-sum game, but you brought it up. So
I don't know. I feel like when I was coaching high school football, my job was to help that quarterback execute our offense and win football games for us. And I know people are like, well, no, your job's getting to the next level. I've been fortunate enough to coach a lot of quarterbacks that have played in college and are playing in college now. And the one we coached in 2024 is playing in college. But I don't know that that's necessarily my job. I don't know that my job was to get them to college. My job was to help Rockmart win football games. My job was to help Cleveland High School win football games, Knox West High School win football games, Whitwell High, Eastridge High, White County High, Ardmore High, Grayson High, Riverdale. My job was to help that school win football games. And so here's one I always like to, okay, well, we want to teach coverage reads. Well, all right, what's your coverage read on all hitches? Look, man, it's real simple. It's grass or dude. Right. Throw it to the grass or throw it to the best dude. I mean, that's just, I don't know, man. I mean, look, Kurt Warner's did way more than I ever could. And the other thing is this, do what you do well. What do you coach well? How do you coach it well? I coach corner routes awful. Always have. They don't make a lot of sense to me. Everyone I'm doing differently. Is it front pile line, back pile line? When does it change? I just don't coach them well. We run them because you have to, but I don't coach them well. So
it's glances for me. I'm the worst glance coach in history. I've never been able to run third level RPO glances. I'm the worst guy in America at it. So I'm right there with you. I understand. So we're almost there. We've got a couple things. Let's talk real quick. We've got our big question at the end. Let's talk spacing real quick. There's a lot of interest in this from guys. Another of those things with Tracy, we keep getting in controversial topics. There's guys that absolutely hate spacing. There's guys that swear by it and it's hilarious, just the discrepancy in that among passing game guys. But what are you guys doing with spacing?
So first thing first, the guy I worked for the last 2 years was not a fan. He didn't like it. I think it's great. But I look at it conceptually. I look at it completely different, I think, than a lot of people. So first things first, I think you've got to get into the backside receiver. Everybody in America does. I don't do it the way they do it. Like everybody's, well, he's going to run a hitch or he's going to run a slant or he's going to run an out. We've got all these different things to do it. To me, I want it to be uniform. I want a quarterback to be able to understand if I catch the snap and I close my eyes, when I open my eyes, they're going to be, these 5 receivers are going to be at these spots. That's the way I see passing game. I saw something the other day. Quinn Ewers was with Gruden, and he's like, we don't teach pass game in a picture. It's all, I get that. But dude, at some point, it starts with a picture. Like you said, he's got to memorize the play. So for me, I look at spacing this way. To me, it's conceptual. There's going to be a player over the ball or as close to over the ball as he possibly can at about 5 yards. Now, that can be 6, but it can't never be 4, right? So there's going to be, so like if you've got a tight end attached, he's over the ball at 5, boom, post up. And I love to use the term hula hoop. There's a hula hoop on the ground, and you're going to go get in it and post up. And again, you talking about hot takes. This episode is going to be hated by a lot of people because I see it differently. I just teach it differently. I want you to get in there and post up. I want you to post up. I want you to give the quarterback your hands and eyes and post up. Your job is to be open if the backers blitz or bail. That's your job, right? If you're the tight end, Josh, your job is to get in there, post up, and receive the football because the backers have blitzed or they bailed. If they don't, then your job is to hold them, right? That's the way I see it. Hold them. Keep them right there. Great. Okay. Post up. Because if you're in there dancing and moving, and then you're going to get cloudy. So we're going to have somebody over the ball, and that can be anybody. I mean, however you want to teach it, can be anybody. Over the ball at about 5 yards. Then you're going to have 2 players on the hashes at about 6 to 7 yards. Those have got to be slightly deeper than the OTB because of timing, right? Because you want the quarterback to catch the football and he's going to see, is the OTB available to me? And if it is, rip it and nothing else matters. Rip it and nothing else matters. They hang on it. Now I can just simply scan this thing. I can go middle to the right, middle to the left. So we're going to have 2 players on the hashes at about 6 to 7, right? Perfect world, 7. Get in there, set it down. Now, we'll give them some freedom. What if, coach, if I'm coming from the field, I can't get all the way to the hash on 2 yards. That's fine. Just get into that general area and give him your hands. And then we're going to have 2 players on the numbers. All right. Now, it can be a lot of different ways. That can be hitches. That can be outs. That can be a tailback push motion. Let's say the numbers is infinity, right? From goal line to goal line, and it never stops. Well, as long as I'm with and I'm on that number line, I'm technically on the numbers. Or if I've got somebody going into the flat at 1 or 2 to 3 yards deep, I'm technically on the numbers. And so I like to teach spacing that way as a conceptual play. If you just took a field diagram and took a big old freaking huge Sharpie marker and put a dot over the ball at 5, put 2 dots on the hashes at 6 to 7, let's say 7, and 2 on the hash on the line of freaking scrimmage. I don't care. Now your quarterback understands they're here. I don't care defensively how it tags up, how it marries up. If you teach it conceptually, then he's going to know. Again, I love to go back to the analogy of you catch the snap and you close your eyes for 1,001, then you open. Where are they? Right? That to me is the way I look at it. And then you can build in all the other stuff. The really cool stuff is like the escort stuff where you got somebody swinging to go block. That's really cool. Wheel routes coming out of it are cool. I'm going to name drop another one, a guy down in your neck of the woods. He's at Westminster. the OC at Westminster, a guy named Nima Salima. Nima is he's like a rocket scientist, like literally teaches some kind of astrochemistry, math. It's unbelievable. And a buddy of mine and I hosted a clinic at Mount Bethel in Marietta, and Nima came and spoke. And Nima rolls in there looking like a professor. And I'm not going to lie, people were judging the book by the cover. And my man started dropping spacing, and it is the greatest spacing clinic ever. Odds, I'm not sharing them. I'll share them with you, but I'm not sharing them. I'm keeping them there. He's amazing with it. So that's the way I see it. That's the way I see curl flat. That's the way I see smash. Double post over. If the quarterback closes his eyes and opens them, is the guy there, and there.
So I think for you, this is because the first thing you're going to hear is, well, what about match coverage and what about man? And I think it's, well, then we don't call that play.
Yeah. Yes, that's fair. But I also think, okay, Mr. Defensive guy, whoever that is, asking about match coverage. How you doing that? What about delayed releases and switch releases? How are you playing that?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
We got 11, you got 11. And the bottom line is there's a lot of grass between 53 and third, and how far, there's just a lot of grass. And so generally on every play, there's going to be some grass. Yeah, if you're going to play man, all right, well, what's your answers in man? Well, we've got an athletic quarterback, so that's one of our answers. It's kind of okay, if my wife's desk here had a pen, I'd hold it up. Hey, I got the pen. Right.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, this is so good. So much good stuff. We're going to wrap up. It's back by popular demand. We had a season off. We have returned to the ever popular learning about what offensive coordinators do pregame and during the game. So we have two questions. We have, what do you wear on your head, if anything, and why during the game? And then we have, even more popular, what is your pregame or during game drink of choice? The amount of just differentiation from coach to coach, state to state is truly remarkable in this. I thought everybody would just be like Red Bull or whatever. Oh no, we've had everything under the sun. I drink like coffee, which some guys think is super weird, especially when it's August in Georgia, but I do. That's my pregame deal. And then I'll have, usually I try and drink one soft drink a week. It's during a game. It's a Coca-Cola, and that's it for me. But I know you have something unique you want to share with people. So
I don't wear a hat ever. I don't wear them in practice either. The only time I'm going to wear one if it's raining. That's the only time I'm going to wear a hat if it's raining. But no, I don't. Also, no hat. And so the people coaches in North Carolina that hear this, and coaches in Southern Middle Tennessee are going to appreciate this. The pregame drink is Sun Drop. That to me is the deal. Sun Drop is, and people ask that, what is it? So for me, think about Mountain Dew and Mellow Yellow on steroids. That's Sun Drop. Sun Drop is just like, it's the same color, it's yellow, but I swear it's got like 9,000 grams of caffeine in it. And if Sun Drop is not available, then it's Mountain Dew. So it's going to be a Mountain Dew pregame and a Mountain Dew halftime. I don't drink a lot of sodas anymore. Pretty much outside of the season, I allow myself one a day. There's 130 calories in the Mountain Dew. I know that. So I give myself one a day, one soda a day. Sometimes it's a Coke. If it's going to be a Coke, I'm going to put a lemon in it. I know it's dumb sounding. If it's Dr. Pepper, I'm putting a lemon in it. It brings out the flavor. I know people are going to be like, dude, there's no way. Just try it. My pregame is going to be a Sun Drop halftime, or it's going to be a Mountain Dew if Sun Drop's not available. And I have lived places where they're not available, and it's awful.
We had them in North Alabama, so I'm familiar with Sun Drop. So that's an interesting call. It's good stuff. Coach, this is awesome. You're one of the good guys. I know a ton of high school coaches who are rooting for you, and I know you're going to do great things at Sewanee. Best of luck to you guys this season. Go put up a bunch of points, and I really appreciate you being on the Passing Lab.
And thanks for asking. This is really cool. I love the show, and I always listen to it.
Josh, we always go over the takeaways. I know you definitely have some here with Coach Malone.
Yeah, well, if you just listen to Tracy talk about his journey, I think he had a line that really stuck with me. You never know when you're interviewing. This profession is so much about networking and about talking to guys. You really never know when your dream job may open up just because of a conversation you had. So that's something especially for younger coaches to keep in mind. I loved how he talked about there's only really two things we control as offensive coaches. We control the picture and we control the tempo, and focusing in on, since those are things that are within our control, how can we manipulate defenses with that? Man, just really great stuff. And then if you listen to the episode at all, just as Tracy kind of goes through his shot package and the way they designed it to have these multiple answers to get the ball down the field with the Vandy package that he calls it, I think guys are really going to like that regardless of what offense they may run. So really good stuff.
Yeah, definitely some great stuff from Coach Malone. And as always, I appreciate you taking the time, Josh, to bring these guys in and share all this information with us.
Yeah, enjoy doing it.
Thank you again to Coach Herring for putting together the Passing Lab, an outstanding job every single week of the series. Remember to check out our partner, Modern Football Technology. Build smarter, coach clear and develop your quarterbacks rep by rep. Modern Football Technology, where quarterback development meets real data. Visit modernfootball.com to learn more. Follow all we're doing at coachandcoordinator.com. We have a ton of articles and blogs there about all of our episodes and our coaches who appear on the podcast. Follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski.